Okay, moving on, let's talk about importing and exporting. So, is that a fly? Almost got it. I know I should edit that out. I think I'm going to leave it. Anyway, the fly lives another day. So, as I was saying, in the previous video, we saw that if we don't use the export keyword anywhere, TypeScript just considers all of our code to be in the same scope, the global scope. There's no namespacing, so I run into trouble if I try and declare a variable of the same name in different files, or write a function of the same name in different files. And then also, it's a mess if I have a lot of these files and I look at the output. I need to make sure to include them in the correct order. It's just messy. But the moment I add in the export keyword somewhere, TypeScript is now going to assume we're working in a module. And it says pretty much that somewhere in the docs here. Any JavaScript files without an export or top-level await should be considered a script and not a module. So the opposite of that is true. Any JavaScript file that has an export or top-level await is considered a module. So again, right now, no problem. I can access sample and add from a different file. But as soon as I export function add, even if that's the only one I export, now I'm going to get some complaints. Cannot find sample. Cannot find name add. So TypeScript now is kind of switching into module mode, ES module mode, and each file is treated as its own file and namespace, and I have to manually import and export any functionality I want to share. So I exported add. So if I want to use add, I need to import it. And it's a named import. We'll talk about the different syntaxes, but a named import. So I'm going to use those object brackets, curly braces, put add inside, from, and then the location, the path, we're in the same location, right? So they're in the source or dist at the end of the day, compiled or precompiled. It's the same relative location from this file to utils, just the current directory /utils. But I am going to do .js. You might think I should do .ts. TypeScript's going to warn me and say, you can't do that. Consider importing utils or adding .js. So I am going to do .js because it's going to be compiled to JavaScript, and TypeScript just knows how to handle that. As you can see, add is found, and we can see that it's linked to this add function we exported. So it knows that it needs to take two numbers, and it returns a number. Now, sample, on the other hand, still is running into some issues because I didn't export it, so I can't even import it if I wanted to. If I try and import sample, I get an error because it doesn't exist. That name is not being exported, but I will go ahead and export it, and now everyone's happy over here. Okay, so now the next step is maybe compiling this code and seeing what happens. So I'm just going to run tsc one more time. And if you remember previously, our JavaScript files were just standalone files. They had no connection to one another. There was no module syntax. There was no ES modules. There was no common JS modules. It was just two files that weren't connected in any way. Now, if we look at our output, what do we have in here? Well, we've got a little bit of stuff, a little bit of syntax around object.defineProperty, ES module exports. We've got, where's the other file here? The same deal up top here. We can ignore all of that, but then we've got a lot of exports dot something, exports dot add, exports dot sample. So this is common JS. If we look at our index.js here, we have require. So if you've worked with Node in the past, you're definitely familiar with this syntax, module.exports and then require. We don't use the import keyword. We don't use the export keyword. We use module.exports and require. So this syntax is totally valid. It works, right? This is still a thing. It's just what's been spit out by default by TypeScript. And if I try and run these files just using Node, dist/index.js, oh, I guess I'm not printing anything, am I? Why don't I print, I'll do a console.log of our sample and get rid of that semicolon, and then a console.log of add, just so we can see this code is successfully being shared. So I'm going to compile with tsc, and then I'm going to run those two files, and we got 34. Okay, so that's a sample from that array. And then 3 is the sum of those two. Great. Okay, so this is just a really quick introduction to how TypeScript modules work. We can write ES6 module syntax, import and export. And if you're not super comfortable with that syntax, in the next video, I'm going to do a deeper dive into named exports, default exports, all that stuff. But anyway, we can write that, and then TypeScript will, first of all, not complain. It's happy to share code and types and know what's going on, right? It can figure out where sample is defined. It knows the type definitions across files. But then more importantly, it's able to compile this code, in our case, to some other module syntax, to common JS modules, which use require, they use module.exports, all that fun stuff. So it's able to take one module syntax and turn it into a second. Now we can change that, and we can have it stay as ES module syntax if we want. I'll show that as well very soon. But I think that's enough for this video. We use import and export. TypeScript then can compile that to whatever we tell it to.